The aspirations for a quantified self are completely manipulative, and I should know. Hi Bethany, it's Jim. Last week, you ranted wonderfully about the ethics of ritual routine and behavior modification, all of which can be captured in one of the internet's favorite buzzwords, the quantified self. The quantified self movement is all about self-knowledge through numbers. Here's how it works. Imagine that you're a squirrel.
Squirrel.
And you want to make the most of every squirrely moment. So you pull out your squirrel phone,
Squirrel.
and download one of the thousands of life tracking apps available. And with a simple tap and swipe of your little squirrely fingers,
Squirrel.
you can easily log all the acorns you gather, where you collected them from, and how long they're going to last. Now, is this whole quantified living thing manipulative? Yes, it absolutely is. And that's okay. The whole point of tracking what you do and where you go and when you sleep and how much you eat is to trigger different behavior. Because the very act of keeping stats on something makes you more mindful of the thing that you're doing. For example, a few years ago, I realized that I did not drink enough water, and I was probably dehydrated about 95% of the time. So I decided to aim for 40,000 ounces of water over the course of the year. For the first few months, I was going strong, keeping track of every single glass I drank and peeing more than I ever have in my entire life. Then one day I drank some water but forgot to track it. And then before long, I just stopped tracking it altogether. And consequently, I stopped drinking as much water. Now, whenever I tell this story to my friend Andy, he reminds me that I have no way of knowing whether or not I actually stopped drinking as much water. Since I stopped taking stats on the thing, I therefore had no quantifiable data to back up such a claim. But regardless of Andy's logic, my experiment taught me one thing. The more mindful you are of a goal, the more likely you are to complete it. And this mindfulness, then, is a form of manipulation. And that's a good thing. Intentionally designing life-giving behavior is the kind of thing we should do more of. Now, before we go any farther, let's take a closer look at the M word I've been throwing around. Manipulation. For all you dictionary lovers out there, Merriam-Webster describes manipulation like this: to use or change information in a skillful way for a particular purpose. Swap out the word mindfully for Merriam-Webster's skillfully, and I've been plagiarizing the dictionary this whole time. Wait, can you plagiarize the dictionary? Now, for those of you who want to go a bit deeper than Merriam-Webster, we turn, of course, to Wikipedia. Wikipedia categorizes manipulation in three ways. Manipulation is underhanded influence, manipulation in a physical context, and manipulation of technology. While all are interesting, the first category is really the one in question for our conversation. The ever-reliable Wikipedia lists manipulation as underhanded influence as crowd manipulation, data manipulation, market manipulation, media manipulation, psychological manipulation. Now, all these underhanded influences are interesting, but the self-manipulation at play in quantified living is a form of psychological manipulation. While psychological manipulation is often a negative thing with underhanded or deceptive tactics, the act of changing behavior is exactly what quantified living sets out to do. If I know the numbers, then I can track my trajectory, and if I can track my trajectory, then I can maintain momentum or course correct as needed. The very act of tracking my water intake empowered me to increase the amount of water that I was taking in, which again comes down to a form of mindfulness, being present with yourself and your goals so that they can actually make an impact on you and the world around you. So is quantified living manipulative? Yes, it absolutely is. But is it ethical? So long as it leads to a healthier individual, community, and world, it absolutely is, even if you're a squirrel.
Squirrel.
So, Bethany, as a designer, what role does mindfulness and or manipulation play in your work designing and in the end user of your product or service? That is my Bicoastal Curiosity for today, and I will see you next week. Bye! So, Bethany, I'm gonna sneeze. Or course correct. Ow! Ow! Microphone, turn off.
Squirrel.